Hello, Wow. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast. My name is Steve Smith, and I'm your host. I've got a fantastic new segment of Dint Golf Solutions Walking the Fairways for you to start the month of July. This is episode number 132. Ladies and gentlemen, I have joining me as usual to start the month with Walking the Fairways, Adam Dinty. G'day, Adam. How are you?
Good, Steve. How are you?
Very well, mate. Now, Adam joins us, of course, from the fantastic company Dint Golf Solutions. Mate, everyone knows about the footy tips, and let's just fire straight into an update of where we're going now that we've seen the back of June. How's everyone travelling with the footy tips?
Mate, so we've got Koroa at the top of the table.
Oh, wow.
Yep, followed by Mackay.
And this is which one? Is this NRL or AFL, sorry?
This is NRL.
NRL, wow.
NRL, and third, we've got Port Adelaide Council.
Oh, so we've got some rippers coming through. That's fantastic.
100%.
Good to see.
It's great to see. And then in the AFL, we've got the boys from Moore Park who have hit the lead.
Wow. There you go.
And then we're followed by Griffith and Apollo Bay.
Oh, we've got some new stars in the lineup hitting the top.
It's always someone new. Lots of dips and turns in form. So,
mate,
yeah.
Just following the season as it is, which is great to see the teams of the turf, the turf teams out there getting in amongst it and staying on top, which they're battling out the top of it, which we like to see. A lot of fun having around the country for everyone involved. Mate, thank you for sharing that with us. Mate, we're going to, a little update on some things that you had, but we were working together. We've had a big week at the conference, the ASTMA Turf Conference last week here in Sydney. Mate, it was a great week for everyone down there.
Yeah, we had a great week, and it was great to see you at the stand and to catch up with everyone from around Australia. It was, really great show as always. We had a lot of interest in that extra cup brush that me and you were discussing a few months ago.
Very good.
So we had that at the conference, and a lot of interest and a lot of really good feedback from guys who are using it.
Mate, one of the things I noticed, apart from all of your fantastic equipment, and this is the time of year we know sheds and maintenance teams are doing work, and mechanics are doing work to prepare in some of the slower time of winter to get ready for that spring and renovation time when things are going to be ready to jump. You've got some pretty special dynamite hollow tines there, mate, I wanted to hear a little bit about.
Yeah, we also had those at the conference. It was great. So we released these. These are essentially our hollow tines for renovations with tungsten tip. So we released these last spring, only a select few sizes, and feedback was remarkable. So we've really expanded our stock of those and also the ranges and different sizes of those. So guys are getting, very comfortably through a full set of greens, sometimes 2 times around using these tines.
Mate, and it is important to get the right equipment so that you can get through a session without too many headaches, without too much drama, because we all know what it's like when you're throwing tines and they're bending or breaking or just wearing extra fast through running them through the surfaces. So it's good to be ready for this. I know that there's teams out there gearing up for springtime and they're preparing and planning for the renovations time. So, mate, a very timely thing to talk about. And for anyone wanting to learn more, they can get in touch with you through your social media, through your website, where you can order stuff as well, but also get in touch with you along the way.
Absolutely.
Mate, thanks for joining us, Adam, and look forward to this one. I'm going to tell you now, mate. You're going to hear about it. We heard about it at the conference. I'm going to touch on a lot of the award winners from the conference. So it was a big week last week, and thanks for joining us, Adam.
A pleasure, mate. We also make the trophies for those awards.
No way. Do you really?
Yeah, now that you bring it up.
Well, mate, that's good. You guys, I have so many things available. And, mate, I'm glad you mentioned that, throwing it in. It's good to know more and more of what Dint has available on offer.
Thanks, Steve.
Now, to fire up the podcast episode, ladies and gentlemen, I should let you know, you can probably tell my voice is a little bit off, been a bit crook, and hence a little delay getting this out to you before I was able to put things together. So you will hear in a couple of pre-recorded segments that my voice might sound a little bit different as this episode is produced and put together. And unfortunately, as I do little bits and pieces over different days, it can happen where the voice gets a little bit off, and that's what's been happening in and around being a little bit unwell and under the weather. But nevertheless, we have a few extra interesting things to let you know. And I'm going to start off with by letting you know that officially the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast is going to now not only encompass all the states and territories of Australia, including some islands around off the coast, but we are regularly going to now include New Zealand. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I have decided that it's time to expand with such a fantastic audience that is listening over in New Zealand. So welcome to everyone listening, new listeners, but also g'day to all of you out there who continue to listen in New Zealand. I met up with a couple of fantastic young individuals who are superintendents in New Zealand. One, Harry Middleton from Muriwai Golf Links, and also Tom Aldridge, superintendent at the one and only Paraparaumu Beach. I met both of those fantastic humans at the ASTMA Turf Conference in Sydney that was held a couple of weeks ago. And you know what? On the back of that, and the podcast recently hit number 4 in New Zealand in the golf podcast in NZ. So I thought clearly there is an appetite, and look, I'm a huge fan of New Zealand. Been there a couple of times, travelled around the South Island both times and seen quite a fair bit of it. And I love New Zealand. Big fan of the joint. And I think it would be really good to be able to showcase to the golf and greenkeeping audience around some of the wonderful golf courses in New Zealand. Let's talk about them. Let's expose them. Let's get them out there as much as we do with the golf courses of Australia. So that's my plan moving forward, ladies and gentlemen. So I want you to help me out, for those of you in New Zealand, help me share some of your stories and insights and things that go on. And that's going to extend to interviews in other segments. There you go. Give you a little bit of an update of what I'm thinking. But we are going to start off with the National Turf Industry Awards that came from one of the evenings. Actually, it was the first evening, the Monday evening of the ASTMA Turf Conference that was in Sydney a couple of weeks ago. And I want to let you know of some of the extra special champions that were awarded some prestigious awards of the evening that was the Monday night gala dinner. We're going to start off with Excellence in Golf Course Management Award, and that was won by the one and only and friend of the podcast, Superintendent Tim Warren from Glenelg Golf Club in Adelaide. Big congratulations to Tim for winning this award, Excellence in Golf Course Management, and it goes to him on the back of having previously won the Claude Crockford Sustainability Award as well. So congratulations to Tim for taking out Excellence in Golf Course Management. We moved to the next award, which was Excellence in Sports Field and Grounds Management, and that was won by Peter Foreman, the turf manager at the very special Adelaide Oval. So that's 2 hits in South Australia, ladies and gentlemen. It was a big night for the South Australians representing in all the different categories here. So congratulations to Peter Foreman there for taking out Excellence in Sports Field. So obviously the people in Adelaide and South Australia do a very good job. We know that, and here they are winning 2 straight up. Now, the most revered award in the industry, in my opinion, is the Claude Crockford Sustainability and Environment Award. And this year, it was so hotly contested that there were joint winners announced. It was a very big one, and it was so fantastic to see the 2 winners combined, and it went to Superintendent Rob Biddle at Avondale Golf Club here in Sydney, and also Superintendent Mick McComb of Mullaney Golf Club in Queensland. 2 sensational superintendents, 2 fantastic people that are joint winners of this year's Claude Crockford Sustainability and Environment Award. Ladies and gentlemen, a big congratulations to those 2 joint winners, because they have been doing outstanding work on their golf courses regarding the environment and sustainability, and it's detailed what they've been doing. And you know what? I actually haven't yet interviewed these 2 gentlemen on the podcast anywhere before. I have spoken to them both, and I have some pretty good plans. So stay tuned, because I've spoken to them about being involved in the pod in the near future. So I hope to have them on very, very soon, ladies and gentlemen. And we're going to get a real insight into just what they've been doing and how successful they've been in promoting and working towards a better way of managing their golf course, with sustainability and the environment at the centre of all the decisions they make in maintenance. So fantastic, and congratulations to both Rob Biddle and Mick McComb. Now we go to Turf Management Team of the Year award, and that was won by the National Golf Club in Victoria. And the award was accepted on the night by Scott Calder, Superintendent of the old course at the National Golf Club down on the Mornington Peninsula. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, the National Golf Club is, I believe, and I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, the largest club in terms of how many golf holes and golf courses it has in its offering. It's a fantastic, unique golf club, and it is housed down there in Melbourne, down the Mornington Peninsula, and has 3 courses down the Mornington Peninsula, and also one of the courses closer up towards the Sandbelt, being that of Long Island. So it's a fantastic offering, a sensational club with 4 golf courses under its banner. And they are, of course, and I've got to let you know, like I said, 4 courses, 72 holes, but it's good to know that's the old course, the Moona course, and the recently renovated Tom Doken Renaissance Golf Design course called the Gunnamatta course. All 3 of those are down the Mornington Peninsula. And the Long Island course, which is up and is a neighbour of Peninsula Kingswood, so it's up on the Sandbelt further towards Melbourne. Ladies and gentlemen, 72 holes, 4 courses, and an incredible turf management team that look after all of those facilities under the one banner. So hence why, with all the work they've been doing, with all the work that's been done, and how they continue to operate and function as a team, a big congratulations to the team of the National Golf Club there in Victoria. And it was great to meet Scott Calder on the night. So I did meet Scott, and turns out he is a listener of the podcast from time to time too. So I never know quite who's listening wherever they are all over the country in New Zealand and indeed the world, but it was great. It's always fantastic and humbling to meet people and they go, hey, yeah, listen to the podcast, Steve, there's great stories and great things shared. So a big congratulations to the team once again at the National Golf Club. Now, Graduate of the Year award, that was won by, and a very hotly contested one this year, as it always is. As it always is, our young people, the apprentices that are coming through the different systems around the country, be it all state-based, is so good to see. And the night was a big night for them all, and there can only be one winner on the night, and that was Oliver Davis from Royal Adelaide Golf Club. Now, of the awards, there have been now 3 from Adelaide to take out some of these awards. So as you've heard, they are kicking goals and they do it so very well down there in Adelaide. So congratulations to Oliver and the Royal Adelaide Golf Club. Superintendent Nathan Bennett obviously is leading the team there at Royal Adelaide and the fantastic golf facility that it is. One of a kind, as you hear me talk about from time to time. And we go, of course, to the final one of the night, which was Sportsfield and Grounds Graduate of the Year, and that was won by John Marrett at People First Stadium on the Gold Coast. So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it, a wrap-up of all the winners from the gala dinner evening at the ASTMA Turf Conference that was held here in Sydney a couple of weeks ago. And there's some fantastic names that we have heard about, and of course, some we will hear about in the future. Congratulations to all the winners from me, and I know that everyone out there is striving to continue to improve how they are turf managers, how they can be better, and these award nights certainly showcase that to everyone in our industry, and I want to help pass that on to everyone more broadly in the golf industry. So in the golf space, and we can do that also passing that around to people in our local society so we can talk about and promote and showcase how good some of our turf managers are around the country. Now, a little side note there, and I did touch on it with Superintendent Tim Warren. You should be aware that not only Tim, but also Mick McComb, they now join a very elite club of only 2 other people in the history of our industry that have won both the awards during their careers. That's both the Claude Crockford Sustainability and Environment Award that Mick McComb won this year and the Excellence in Golf Course Management Award that Tim Warren won this year. Well, previously, as I mentioned, Tim had won the Claude Crockford Sustainability and Environment Award, but also in the past, Mick McComb had won the Excellence in Golf Course Management Award. Now, that's only ever happened twice before. So 2 this year had joined that club. And previously, the only other 2 people that have won both of those awards throughout their careers were David Warwick, the former superintendent of Avondale Golf Club in Sydney, and Ben Tilley, who is the superintendent at Headland Golf Club up in Brisbane, and he is also the current president of the ASTMA. So a very elite club, only 4 people to hold both of those awards in their career, or to win both of those awards in their career. So that's the level we are talking about of excellence in general through our industry, and it's great to see both Tim and Mick now joining that very elite club. So congratulations. Now, recently, ladies and gentlemen, Golf Australia and the PGA Tour of Australasia announced the schedule for this coming season, beginning in the middle of August. Now, it's pretty exciting to talk about, so I'm going to detail it to you so you could stay across it, because at the end of the day, a lot of these golf courses are preparing for these tournaments, and the teams, and as they should be, incredibly proud when these events come on. I know what it was like managing and leading a golf course team, getting ready for what was our big event locally. You guys and girls out there know what it's like managing and working on a golf course and preparing it for your local big events. And this is another level that we'll go through, preparing for a PGA Tour event of Australasia. So I'm going to read them out, ladies and gentlemen, and some of them aren't local in just Australia, but this is the Australasian Tour, and we start on August 14 to 17, and that is for the Papua New Guinea Open. So the PNG Open is going to be held at Royal Port Moresby Golf Club. Then 2 weeks later, August 28 to 31, is to the Northern Territory PGA Championship, which will be held at Palmerston Golf Club. So that's great to see up in the Northern Territory in Darwin. And that course, incidentally, is, I try to let you know where they are, so if you're ever travelling or if you've been in that direction, you know what's going on. So Palmerston Golf Club is located in Darwin's southeastern suburbs, so just slightly out of the city centre itself, which is a fantastic golf course facility there. And it is managed by Superintendent Scott Trembath. Scott leads the team there at Palmerston, and they'll be preparing the golf course very well for the Northern Territory PGA, which is great to hear. In September 27 to 28, we go to somewhere completely different, because there's a little bit of a gap from the end of August, and the World Sand Greens Championship is going to be held. That's the World Sand Greens Championship. It's going to be held at Binalong Community Club, and that is located in New South Wales, and it's about 100 kilometres northwest of Canberra on Burley Griffin Way. So it's a small local community out there in regional New South Wales, and they are holding the World Sand Greens Championship. So great if you're interested in that sort of stuff and you're local to that area. Would be something to get down there and have a look at, because it will be very interesting to see. So that's happening at the end of September. And just as a point, it's not an order of merit event, but they're playing for 140 grand, right, in the prize pool. So it's a big deal. And it's great to see that happening at a regional community of Australia. We go to October 9 to 12, and that will be when the WA PGA Championship will be held at Kalgoorlie Golf Course, the famous Graham Marsh designed Kalgoorlie Golf Course, a desert golf course, as I like to call it, which is located... Look, Kalgoorlie, or Cal, you've heard me talk with in the past Superintendent Pat Casey, who used to be the super out there. He's now at Royal Perth, but he was at Kalgoorlie Golf Course. And Cal's not local to Perth, but it is in WA. It's 600 kilometres east of Perth, ladies and gentlemen, so it's not nearby a big capital city. It is a long way to drive there from Perth, but you can quite easily fly to Kalgoorlie. Very unique golf course, certainly one of a kind, or probably two of a kind in Australia, because Alice Springs in the Northern Territory is kind of a similar style, which is a Thompson Woolridge, I believe, golf course design from memory. But Kalgoorlie Golf Course is something very, very special. And there are a few holes of Kalgoorlie Golf Course that are part of the Nullarbor Links, which is the longest golf course on the planet Earth. There you go, in case you're wondering. October 16 to 19 is the WA Open, and that is going to be, this is exciting for me, that's going to be held at Mount Lawley Golf Club in Perth. Now, I did get to Perth last year, as you know, and I got to see Mount Lawley Golf Club and the fantastic OCM redesign of the golf course, and the golf course team there is led by Superintendent Rod Tatt. But Mount Lawley is something very special. Not a long golf course, and anyone will be happy to tell you that it's not an overly long golf course, but it is a really cool golf course. I'd not seen it before, but I have seen the work now, albeit a year ago, and it is absolutely sensational. I am really excited to see how the WA Open goes at Mount Lawley Golf Club, because I reckon it's going to be a ripper event. So good stuff happening there with the WA Open, and I wish everyone, Rod Tat, Superintendent, and the entire team at Mount Lawley and the club at Mount Lawley, wish them all the best hosting that event, because I think it's going to be really, really exciting. And we go to October 23, so the week later, straight after that, October 23 to 26, is the first of the WebEx Players Series event, and that's going to be happening in South Australia, hosted by Greg Blewett at Wollonga Golf Course. Now, Wollonga is located about 50 k's to the south of Adelaide City, not far from McLaren Vale. For those of you who are wine buffs, you probably know McLaren Vale is a famous wine country down there in Adelaide. And great to see. Wollonga was on the tour list last year, so I believe this is a second event at Wollonga for the WebEx Players Series. Fantastic to see, ladies and gentlemen. In November 13 to 16 is the New South Wales Open, which makes a return to the Vintage Golf Club in the Hunter Valley, north of Sydney. And of course, once again, the Hunter Valley, as you probably know, is a famous wine region of Australia and indeed New South Wales. And it's about 2 hours to the north of Sydney. And if you do happen to travel and you're flying into Newcastle, because that's a closer city centre to get to the Vintage, it's about 45 minutes west of Newcastle. There you go. And we get to November 20 to 23, and the Queensland PGA Championship will be held at Nudgee Golf Club in Brisbane, the first of the events in Queensland. And Nudgee is a well-respected golf course, certainly in Australia, and after not too long ago having been redesigned, it's hosted the Queensland PGA Championship since then as well, of note. It's right near Brisbane Airport, actually, so very easy to get to. And it's on there once again, so the Queensland PGA is coming up in the middle of November. And then straight after that, it's a feeder more or less into, for those of us fans watching and following all of the golf on the PGA Tour of Australasia. The following week will be around the corner at the Australian PGA Championship at Royal Queensland Golf Club on the banks of the Brisbane River. Ladies and gentlemen, so that's the first of the big men's majors, and we'll be able to get an appetite of just how things are flowing through the season when we get to watch the PGA Championship there at Royal Queensland at RQ. Fantastic golf course there. I did get to play it last year for the first time, and I was very impressed, actually. Much more impressed. It's good to watch on television. If you do get a chance to play it, it's a very, very special golf course. I thoroughly enjoyed it, actually. It was a lot better to play than I thought, than just to look at. Really quite interesting. December 4 to 7, we get right into the summer season, and things really start to fire up even further. We've got the Men's Australian Open, which is going to be held at the Royal Melbourne Golf Club in Melbourne, the fantastic golf course. And this is the first time since 1991, I think it is, that Royal Melbourne Golf Club have held the Men's Australian Open. Long time coming. We've heard of RM having it for other events like the President's Cup and so on, but this will be the first time since the early 90s that it has held the Men's Australian Open. Now, for those of you who aren't sure, Royal Melbourne is actually a little bit out of Melbourne itself, down on the Sandbelt. And we say down on the Sandbelt because it's about 30 minutes south of Melbourne City at Black Rock. So really exciting, really interesting to be able to see the men of the Australian Open this year striding the fairways to take out the coveted Stonehaven Cup. And the final event for 2025, because this is where they've released the dates up to, is December 11 to 14. So the following week, they're bouncing straight around, going a little bit further south to Moona Links Resort for the Victorian PGA Championship. So it's a little bit further south past the Sandbelt down to Moona Links, and that's, like I said, it's about 100 k's south of Melbourne. Ladies and gentlemen, if you get the chance to get down that way, or if you know about it, the PGA Championship is the one that will finish off the year of 2025 before we turn the page into 2026 for the back half of the PGA Tour of Australasia. They haven't released those dates yet. They will be soon released in the coming weeks, and I'll be able to inform you once they let us know what's going on. And that's a good wrap-up of the season ahead for golf and for us spectators who like to get out there and watch, and also for all the people preparing and getting those golf courses in readiness for all those fantastic events. So good luck to everyone out there working on the courses. I know you're going to do a fantastic job, as you always do every year, and can't wait to see your courses on TV. Now, before I get going, as we move around the states for Walking the Fairways for golf course news, I just thought, you probably saw I did a post on social media. There was some commentary out there from Mark Allen, radio personality, who is on Talk Birdie to Me podcast with Nick O'Hearn. Now, I did mention that I am going to have some words to say about Mark Allen's comments. I was going to do it on Walking the Fairways, but I think it needs a little bit more time than just, a couple of minutes. So I'm going to, just for those that are listening, I'm going to have a dedicated podcast episode to it because I want to break it down. I want to go through what was said, and I want to talk about what I think about those comments, and I'll give you a piece of my mind. So it won't happen on this episode of Walking the Fairways. It's going to have its own segment, and that way I can address it properly. And I know that plenty of you out there were rather put off. I'll use the word offended, whatever, irate. I was certainly angry about the comments, and I'll explain a lot more, and I'll explain my thoughts about it too, because I think they are the words that Mark Allen and his commentary that was used was very unhelpful for the industry, in my opinion. And and like I said, it's going to come out this week, that episode. So stay tuned, and I'll give you some more, because I just think that we need to call out some unfair commentary when it happens, because it's unhelpful to everyone. But I'll leave that and park that for now. Now we start off Walking the Fairways, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to go to the hot seat and the hot state of South Australia after all those award winners. And we're going to go to the redevelopment of the North Adelaide Public Golf Course. Now, it has taken a big step forward in readiness to, preparation for hosting Live Golf. And that has been with the announcement from the South Australian State Government passing legislation that gives them the power to streamline things and, in short, make it happen ready for Live Golf in 2028, because they need to get a move on. Things have got to happen if they want to build this golf course, this renovated golf course, and redesign it, getting it ready to host Live, because it's a big tournament, it's a big show. And they need to. It needs to be good, because let's face it, the Grange has been hosting it since it began, and it is a fantastic event. Twice been named the best golf tournament on the planet. So, big shoes to fill and continue with. So the state government has taken it upon themselves to allow them to streamline the process of getting this redesign work done. Greg Norman Golf Course Design has officially been engaged by the government, and they are working on a plan for the redesign. We don't know it yet. We haven't seen it. No shiny pictures, but that is apparently coming. Now, let's see what I can find out on this one as we go along. Fingers crossed I can get some insight on this one for you, which I'm working on at the moment, ladies and gentlemen. There's details flowing in now that say, in relation to the cost structure of the golf course outside Live. So how's it going to work as a public golf course? So there's information coming out about playing the North Adelaide course once the redesign has been finished and the redevelopment's been done. They're basically saying that it's going to cost interstate travellers more than local South Australians to play. Now, I've got to be honest, it's basically a scaled fee structure, if you like, and I think this is a very, very fair concept. I've got to be honest. I reckon I'm more than okay with this particular concept as someone who's a rank outsider from New South Wales, from Sydney in the Big Smoke now. I think this is a good thing. If I want to go to Adelaide and play their newly redesigned golf course at North Adelaide, and I'm from New South Wales, I should have to pay more money. I think that's fair and reasonable. It's a public asset. It's a public asset to the people of Adelaide and the people of South Australia. And the South Australians are the ones who are going to be spending their money to rebuild this golf course and redesign it as a tournament venue. So it should be more expensive for me, and equally, it should be less expensive for the local people. If it's your money has gone into this investment, you shouldn't have to pay a great deal. It's a public space. It's a public golf course. You pay now to play the existing version of North Adelaide Golf Course. It gets redeveloped, redesigned. The price will probably go up a little bit. I don't expect it to go up to $100 and something. But I think that it should be a lot of money for us to come and play from interstate. It probably should be around like going to a Barn Bugle at $150 or something. Greg Norman Golf Course Design, it's going to be something very good. And not everyone likes Greg Norman designed golf courses, but there's plenty that do. Now, it's going to be a live tournament host venue. So there's going to be lots of people that are going to want to go and test themselves against what the live players are going out there for. It's public access. Not everyone can go and play the Grange. It's a private golf course. It's the host of Live Golf Adelaide at the moment, and will be for another couple of years yet. But I can't go there and say, hey, I want to play your golf course in next month. You can't just ring up and say, hey, I want to go and play. How much is it to book in on Thursday? It doesn't work that way at a private golf course. And that's okay, because that's the way that they work, and there's plenty of room for private golf in this country of ours, in our golf landscape. Equally, we have to make sure that there's plenty of room for public golf in this country. And that's a very important thing. There needs to be a very, very good balance and plenty of public golf offerings available for the general public to play our wonderful sport. Because indeed, without access to the public to play golf, this sport will dwindle and die. We can't have that. There is a space for both sides and everything in between. But public golf is very, very important. And I think what the South Australian government are doing here is something unique, because we don't have that, and we haven't had that anywhere in Australia before. No public golf course has ever held a major Australian tournament that I'm aware of. A major Australian tournament. So that's the Australian Open, the Australian PGA, the Women's Open, of both the men's and the women's, I don't believe have ever been played on a fully public access golf course. One that is managed and maintained by the public sector, by a local council or by a government. We have not had that in Australia. Not like Chambers Bay has had in the US. We have not had that. This is going to be our first example of a tournament host venue that is a public golf course maintained by the public and by public funds. So this is great to see. Greg Norman will be putting his name to the design, and I think these are all positives. That's just my call. That's my opinion. And I think the scale fee structure for locals to pay less, and for interstate travellers and even international travellers, anyone from outside South Australia to pay more, is more than okay. It really is. And you're going to get people wanting to come and play there. Who's not going to want to stay in the city and town in Adelaide, and you can nearly walk to the cricket, the Adelaide Oval, which Peter Foreman recently won the Excellence in Sports Fields and Grounds Management. So, you're going to be able to walk to North Adelaide Golf Course, and the upgraded version, you're going to be, how good is Live Golf going to be there? In the city, inside the city. That will be like how they do the Formula One in Melbourne. They don't have a major tournament held at Albert Park Golf Course, which is the equivalent. We don't have one held at Moore Park Golf Course in Sydney, which Clover Moore wouldn't want anyway, because she's cutting it down to 9 holes. But let's not go there. That's another comment, another discussion for another time. The Formula One is in the middle of the city. Adelaide 500 for the V8 supercars is in the middle of a city. We know how good these things are to get people to. And the fact that you've got to go to Adelaide and you go a little bit out of town to the Grange Golf Club for Live, it's going to be a lot easier and so much better for the city to stay in the city, because I can tell you, getting out of Live Golf Adelaide at the Grange and trying to get to the airport when everyone else is trying to get out is a bit of a nightmare. I have been caught getting pretty tight on the time to board my plane, because I struggled to get a cab or an Uber out of the Grange because you're not in the city. So it does make it a little bit more challenging. But these are all good things, ladies and gentlemen. So great to see, and they are still moving forward as planned. Now, I will say that the Australian Women's Open has announced their dates. Now, the reason I didn't talk about it in the previous list of the PGA Tour of Australasia, which is the men's tour predominantly, apart from the WebEx playing events there, is it was announced for next year. So the dates have been released, and the venue, which since the breakaway from the combined Men's Australians Open, which was held last year at Victoria Golf Club in Kingston Heath, of course. So we've got standalone. The men's is at Royal Melbourne. Well, the big announcement is that the Women's Australian Open is going to be held in Adelaide. So another tick for Adelaide. South Australia are going bonkers here. Not only are they hosting events, but they're winning awards about how good they are. It's going to be held at Kooyonga. Richard James is a superintendent at Kooyonga Golf Club, and this is a fantastic announcement. I believe, to get it back to Adelaide in the right time of the year with other tours around the world so it fits in snug. It's going to be held on March 12 to 15 next year in 2026 at the fantastic Kooyonga Golf Club. Exciting news for South Australia once again and for Australian golf to see the Women's Australian Open back in SA, like I mentioned, and near the start of the year. Thankfully, it means that we won't see, this is a good point, we won't see the likes of Hannah Green and co having to fly home to Australia with less than 24 hours to turn around from when they land to when they tee off. That was a debacle last year and something that probably wasn't talked about enough because it was a shambles. And it was unfair, I believe, for those players to compete in and compete reasonably. They did very, very well. Very well, but probably a little bit ridiculous to expect them to fly back to Australia from the US, which is, 16 hours or something ridiculous, and inside 24 hours they were playing the tournament. We won't have that problem again. It will fit into their schedule a great deal better and very, very exciting to see Kooyonga host the Women's Australian Open once again. And in the future, there is talk that possibly if South Australia can continue to secure the Women's Australian Open, once they're finished, because it's a 3-year deal with Kooyonga Golf Club, 26, 27, 2028, once that's finished, there is the potential, and get this, to take it to the redeveloped and redesigned North Adelaide Golf Course, tournament host venue of LIV. Can you imagine going from LIV in February and bouncing it to 3 weeks later or 4 weeks later into March for the Australian Women's Open? I'm sorry, but these guys are kicking goals. They're playing chess, not checkers, as they say, ladies and gentlemen, and South Australia are doing it very well. So this is really, really impressive to watch. And Adelaide and South Australia, and I love their logo. They're the gateway to Australia. They've got the big door in the map of Australia. It looks like you're coming home to Australia when you go into the door of Adelaide. And that's really what they're doing. They've positioned themselves very well in the world of golf, and this is another stroke of genius, if you ask me. So fantastic news about the Women's Australian Open. Now we go, ladies and gentlemen, to Flagstaff Hill Golf Club, about 25 minutes south of Adelaide. Now, as part of their deal with a retirement village being built on some of their land, they have now been able to fund a new clubhouse to be built, along with a new mini golf course and simulator golf offerings at the club. New stuff available at Flagstaff Hill, and these are great moves for the golf club. They've been able to rebuild their golf club house, which you see from time to time, especially after developments like this, and they're reinvesting their money into the facilities, but also to be able to give some different offerings of golf. And we see it, and I'll use Linwood as a classic example that I know of in Western Sydney. Big fan of Linwood Country Club there, led by Superintendent Matt Bailey. And I've got to use it as a local example to me because they've been investing in their golf course over the last 5 to 8 years, really, that I can think of off the top of my head. And they've been doing it very well. And they've got mini golf and they've got simulators. Flagstaff Hill have rebuilt the golf clubhouse. They've got mini golf. They've got simulators. And they've invested in those other offerings. And it brings a great deal of a different demographic through your golf club. It gets kids started a lot easier into the game of golf, playing mini golf. You have a little bit of fun and enjoyment outside in bad weather and at different times of the day on simulator golf. These are all good things. They're making a great deal of presence around in a lot of other places around the country. So Flagstaff Hill have taken that model, and I can mention Cobram Baruga as well, that I was at earlier this year. They've done something similar. They've got simulator golf. They've got mini golf. So these are extra strings to your bow as a golf club, and they've invested well at Flagstaff Hill, in my opinion. So great stuff happening down there in the south of Adelaide. Now we go to Glenelg Golf Club, the fantastic golf course that is. It gets nearly a mention all the time here, and that's because they still keep kicking goals and kicking backsides. The final stage of the course enhancement works, which is going to happen to holes 1, 6, and 7 have begun at Glenelg. And also, on the top of doing such great work and the final stage of the enhancement works, they're giving back. This is a great story about giving back to the industry. And what they've done here is the surface of the 7th green that was stripped off that they no longer wanted, that was removed, has been donated to Tanunda Pines Golf Club, where they've built a couple of nursery greens for their maintenance of their golf course moving forward. Now, this is a fantastic, sustainable solution to reusing the unwanted surface from Glenelg. And instead of throwing it away, such is the old saying to turf something, meaning to throw it away, it will get a new lease on life at Tanunda Pines. So, fantastic solution to a problem, and also being able to help out another club in South Australia. Now, incidentally, Tanunda Pines, and I like to talk about where places are located. If you're ever travelling around, you've got to go and see these golf courses as well and enjoy them. Tanunda Pines is incidentally located in the famous Barossa Valley wine region, just to the northeast of Adelaide. And look, I'm going to throw this in. If you're up there and you like a good port or fortified wine, as I tend to be a little bit partial to from time to time, my pick, and I'm just throwing this in a complete random, as I was sitting down making these notes and writing this stuff down ready for the podcast, and behind me is my little wine and whiskey cabinet that I have. Drink responsibly, ladies and gentlemen, as always. But I do like a port from time to time along with a whiskey. And I've got to say, if you're going down to the Barossa and you're going to have a game at Tanunda or anywhere else up in that region to the northeast of Adelaide, I'm going to suggest you stop in at Seppelsfield Wines, because they do an incredible port. Absolutely out of this world. So that's my little pick there. Please drink responsibly, as I say. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going all the way to the west coast of Australia. As you know, I'm big fans of WA and into the southwestern corner. I've got to know a little bit about around the Perth region, and I'm a big fan of what happens in golf courses over in the WA. And we are going to a friend of the podcast, to the Superintendent Lance Knox of Busselton Golf Club. G'day, Lance. How are you, mate?
G'day, Steve.
Mate, thanks for jumping on the pod on Walking the Fairways. And I wanted to, you and I had spoken a little bit on socials and chatting backwards and forwards, because you guys have been through so much work, as you keep doing, on the back of you winning awards a couple of years ago. Mate, you've been doing an incredible amount of work with your team, on course, with the club support, obviously, as well. You continue to push. Mate, I want to get from you a little bit of an update straight from the horse's mouth, if we can, of the work that you've been ticking through, because you've recently just finished rebuilding your sixth hole, in a sense, as a par 3. Is that right?
Yeah, basically, it's never ending. It's one of those things. It's one of those things that we get the privilege and the honour to improve the golf course. So we do a project, and the next day when we open, it's like, okay, what's next?
Mate, it's huge.
Yeah, and the golf club gives us the green light to do the stuff what we believe that will improve the golf club.
Mate, like I said, you've been doing a lot of work there. It's fantastic to see. But I want to start off with something, because when I was there last year, you'd been through a 9-month drought of literally no rain. And here we are at this time of the year, which is when you start to get rainfall. You're actually receiving some good rain, because it wasn't looking good leading into winter, was it?
Yeah, it's one of those things in the West Coast. All our rainfall comes in winter. So we get some rain in summer. And I think last year you came when it rained for the first time.
Yeah. It was the end of May, and I think you got hail. The temperature dropped, I think, to 7 degrees when we landed, and hail and rain as soon as we got in the hotel.
Yeah, so we usually, last year, it was the 1st of October. It was our last rain, and then it was about the first week of May is when we got the rainfall again. So it was about 7 months no rain.
That's incredible.
A meal here and there, but nothing to keep going. So it's always in that way. You sort of get like a rainfall in March and April, and that helps you out through that autumn time. But it's when we don't actually get it going, March and April last year were very scary of keeping the course alive.
Tough times, and it's probably, I say us from the eastern side, because our rainfall patterns are very, very different. So it's unusual and very hard to comprehend sometimes what your summers are like, and you don't get the summer storms that we get here on the central parts of the east coast around Sydney and New South Wales. So it is quite different, but you've had recently a rain. I think you were just saying, overnight you had 60 mil. This is being recorded just after the second State of Origin game, and we saw a wet game last night. Lots of heavy rainfall in big heavy bands, and you got around 60 mil or something. You were saying, because you're a little bit further south.
Yeah, about 60 mil, for a 24-hour period in a way. The rain up in Perth was later, so our rain stopped at 9 o'clock that morning.
Right.
There was a good pockets of rain up in Perth as well. But us and Dunsborough, we got hit pretty hard in the southwest. Yesterday. But it's one of those things that when it rains, it can rain a lot, and we're at that period now.
There you go, mate. It's that time of the year that you'll be topping up and replenishing a lot of the water storage and indeed also in the aquifers as water filters down through the sand profiles and different things that happen on that part of the countryside. Mate, tell us a little bit about what you've been up to do on the 6th, the complete sort of reworking of the 6th hole. It looks pretty impressive on some of the images that I've seen.
Yeah, so the 6th hole is a par 3, 169 metres. And it was targeted because the green was getting pretty small. It was one of our original greens, so it was measured out about 330 square metres. So it was just a task to extend it out by 3 metres around the whole lot to gain about 500 square metres of putting surface.
Yep.
And with that, there was removing one of the bunkers because it was always causing issues with drainage issues through winter. And then the tee, we wanted to extend the tee, make the tee bigger, and inline it with the fairway itself. So a little project became a big project by the end of the day.
But you're used to doing that, mate, from what we've spoken about in the past.
Yeah, well, that's it. So we try to target a spring construction or project every year. And this was our spring project. So we shut it down in November and opened it first week of February.
Yeah, right. And it was well received. A lot of work there. And did you adjust the green surfaces at all, like the contouring at all, or was it just about increasing that size?
This one we wanted to try to keep it as close to the original green as possible. So this was a really difficult one for us to do. Because it was shaped from front to back, and so we had to make sure that slope was as close as possible to what it was. If we changed that, I just knew we were going to get a lot of feedback on that. So it was trying to keep it as close as possible, but removing the bunker and putting a false front or a slope really it was commented on. This is going to make the hole easier, but now it's in play. I feel like those comments are very, very quiet now. Let's say that.
As people tend, once they see it, once they start to use it in practice, all of a sudden their thoughts are quite different from what theory. It's like the difference between theory and practice, isn't it?
Well, that's it. With bunkers is always a nice conversation to have, and a lot of people don't like removing bunkers. Because the original courses had 40 or 50 bunkers, we're at 43 now.
Okay.
Moving bunkers is like, you're making the whole course easier. But I believe that there's bunkers out there that are strategically penalising the average golfer, not the good golfer. And this one was one of the ones like, we're happy to put it in if you feel like this hole's easier. But let's say the comments have been mute ever since. So
there you go. It says enough. Says enough. There was irrigation works involved here as well, was there, or was it drainage?
Not crazy irrigation because we just went out to the retic line in the green.
Right.
That was no issue with that. The tee we had to straighten up a tad. We increased the tee. That was the big project for us. It was about 200 square metres for the two white and blue tees. We got that up to 400 square metres.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So we've got that tee now at the hole can go from 145 metres to 180 metres. So
yeah,
it's 35
right.
long, yeah. So we've got very much to play with in changing the hole in that aspect.
And good for moving the wear around because, as we know, par threes get hacked up and chopped up from using shorter irons and that sort of stuff. So very, very good thing to have. Good flexibility as well for the hole itself.
Yeah, that's it. And the big thing we have here is our tees aren't designed for 60,000 plus people, and that's what we're getting down here at the moment. So we're just targeting those tees that we can benefit for the golf hole, but still wear and tear is a target through winter.
Sensational, mate. Fantastic to hear. What else have you've been up to? Like I said, I know you've been doing a stack of work. Mate, lead us through, maybe you can bullet point some of the other things you've been doing over the last sort of 6 months.
Yeah, so with that sixth project, this time last year, we started a 19th hole project. So we built a new golf hole.
As a spare hole, wow.
As a spare hole, yeah. So with the work going on with six, knowing we're going to be out of play for 2 to 3 months, temporary greens on Kaiku are not fun. We wanted
no one's idea of fun there in general anyway, but if you've got to use it as a green.
Yeah. So we have a lot of space through our middle of the course with a power line that goes straight through the middle of the course and pine tree, like a pine tree forest where they planted pines 40 years ago. And there was this one area that they harvest a bit of sand, and I've always looked at it going, I reckon I could build a golf hole there. And so we last year decided to do a little bit of earthworks and see what we can do. And it was a great little project for our apprentices. They did all the irrigation, used the excavators and did all the pipe work and all that, and just built this little 70-metre par 3.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and that worked out really good. And what we did with that was trial 2 new species of bent grass.
Okay.
So we went with a 777 and 007 to see what works down south.
Yep.
They're the main varieties Perth guys are using, but what works down south we don't know.
Yep.
We have Pencross out here, and it's trying to figure out. Pencross apparently is no more.
And that's becoming a challenge for a lot of turf managers and a lot of golf courses. Is we're losing. They're not harvesting or growing the seed of these older varieties. Which so when it comes to patching up or if you're replacing a green or two or doing some projects as time goes on, clubs are now and superintendents are now having to consider where to next because those grass varieties are no more to match up. So it's a case of what are we going to do, and we have to make some larger decisions maybe for the next 10 plus years ahead.
Pretty much that's what we were trying to do is Pencross for us as well. We've used that last 3 or 4 greens, and it struggles the first couple of years to get a density into it. So we it does easy thin out. Polo does come into it, and we have a bit of moss out of here as well that goes into our newer greens. So we wanted to make a change to see what varieties are dense, have more dense, so we can reduce the polar and moss.
Yep.
So these two greens we had. It was a 200 square metre green on this 19th hole, and 100 square metres at the front was 007, and 100 square metres at the back was 777.
Okay.
So when we got it into play, we closed the 6th hole out and put the 19th hole in. We had it in play, and it was one of those things. Wasn't too sure how the members going to react to a 70-metre par 3 and then new putting surfaces. And the positive feedback we got and put it out to members and asked them what surface is better, front or back of the green, and really worked out what is going to be best for the future of the golf club.
That's great to see, mate. These are the things that you need to consider as a golf club and as superintendents and as turf managers is what's going to be the right choice of locally where a particular grass type, you've got to try it with your own conditions, your own site, and they're all very specific and also very individual. So, mate, it's great to see that you're doing that at Busselton. Mate, Lance, can you give us a bit of an idea of what you guys have moving forward now? Are you preparing for your next project in the spring coming? Is that where you're at now?
Yeah, we're doing a project now. So we've jumped into a project. We're looking at extending our car park.
Okay.
How busy our golf course is getting. The car park is never designed for the amount of members we have. So
good problem to have. Good problem to have in a way.
It's a great problem, yeah. But it's trying to figure out what the best area around the golf club pro shop to have these cars. So they've decided, or the board has decided to move the new car park where the chipping green is.
Okay.
So they've basically said to me, we're putting this here, we need a new chipping green. And it was a bit more complicated than that, but that was the simple way of saying it. Yep, we're going to move the chipping green.
Yep.
Where are we going to do it? So the approval for the car park is looking in August, and we're trying to have the old chipping green in place still, and then build the new chipping green at this moment.
Oh, there you go. So all hands are still moving on deck. It's all happening.
Yeah. So this project wasn't in planned, but it's a good winter job, and it's a good job for our staff to do, and it's exciting times at the moment. Yeah.
Fantastic stuff, mate. It's great to hear, and I really do appreciate, Lance, you just jumping on and being able to do this. This is a wonderful part of revamping Walking the Fairways, is getting this little bit of insight, mate, and I really do appreciate you giving that to us about what you're up to at Busselton. I wish you guys all the best. I keep watching and keep following and keep sharing the work that you're up to, because I love what you're doing there, mate, the way that you're leading the team and the people you've got involved there in your team. And I have to shout out to Casey Williams, who's recently been qualified. She's a supporter of the podcast and listens as well, and she's a great young asset to your team and indeed our industry. And I'll go that far as to say it's great to have people like Casey and females like Casey involved in our industry, and it's great to see that they're part of your team and that Casey's involved in your team there at Busselton, mate. So
I'm very pleased with what the staff I've got is amazing. So we've always we have two apprentices. Casey just qualified, and we picked up a first year apprentice now.
Brilliant.
And we've got this turnover of apprentices through our high schools in Busselton. That we've got so many young kids that actually want to be greenkeepers.
Mate, that's amazing to hear. Really is.
Yeah, I've got two work experience kids at the moment. One's on a Wednesday, one's coming on a Thursday, and we're very lucky to almost pick and choose who can be apprentice.
Mate, again, a good problem to have, and that takes effort and work in doing that and getting the trade of greenkeeping in those eyes of young people looking to what they want to do when they're finishing school. And that's no easy feat, and in different regions of Australia that's much harder than other places, and you've done the hard work there, and you've got that in their minds, and it's something that they're considering. And you've got great young people that are moving through the ranks, and I have to say Casey as well is one of those people who's done so well recently with the awards and just missed out on winning that state award for Apprentice of the Year or Graduate of the Year, I think it is. Great stuff though, and mate, well done on all fronts, and congratulations on all the work that you're doing there, and to the club as well, because it's great to follow, and a shout out to people to go out there to Busselton. If you haven't been for a while, now is the time, or start planning your trip so you can go down there and enjoy what's happening at Busselton Golf Club.
That's a shout out to the whole Southwest. What these guys are doing down here are amazing.
It is, mate, it is. Thank you, Lance. I really appreciate you coming on the pod.
Cheers, Steve.
Now we move to the ACT, the Australian Capital Territory, and Federal Golf Club and the team on course led by Superintendent Pete Dunn continue their winter works only weeks ago, resurfacing their third tee. Federal is well on the improve, so when things start to warm up, it might be good to get back out there for a round and see some of the extensive improvements that have been carried out on course as part of their upgrades. Kraft and Mogford are the people behind the design work that the team on course are carrying out and moving through, and it's fantastic to see Federal. I've got to get down there, and I did mention to Pete last time that I'd have to come down for a game very soon, because it's only been... it's over 15. It's probably pushing 17 or 18 years since I had a round at Federal. Might actually be over 20, now I think of it. I was a lot younger. Maybe it's over 20 years since I played Federal. There you go. But it's a great golf course. Great golf course over there at Red Hill in Canberra. Good to see happening at Federal, and I will keep talking about it because it's fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, we move to Queensland, the Sunshine State, and we go to Muriwai River Golf Club on the Sunshine Coast. And there's a bit of work coming out of the Sunshine Coast. We're going to go there to Muriwai River, and they're embarking on a new phase expansion and improvements to their now 10-year-old golf facility. Now, to be done in 3 stages, these include a new 9-hole par 3 course under lights, a new 19th hole spare hole for their existing 18-hole course, and a 9-hole executive-style course in time. Now, whatever executive-style course is, look, hey, sometimes I get frustrated by these terms. Executive-style 9. It's a 9-hole golf course, right? It's not a par 3 course. It's a 9-hole golf course, okay? So there's a few par 4s and there's a few par 3s, right? That's what it is, in case you're wondering, because I'm just like executive style. I think that's an overseas term that we don't hear that in Australia. Anyway, but that's what they're looking at Muriwai River. Darius Oliver is behind the design of these new courses, and the land to be used is vacant land in the southeastern corner of the property. It was originally planned for another full-sized 9-hole course, but that obviously never happened, and the club is now going with this option on the vacant land. So interesting stuff and an interesting move from Muriwai River to expand on their course in a couple of different offerings, not just a more traditional 9-hole addition to make it 27 holes. So great to hear that things are moving forward once again at Muriwai River. We go to McLeod Country Club in Brisbane, southwestern suburbs, not too far from the banks of the Brisbane River. And they've been working on a new 19th hole that, thanks to architect Richard Chamberlain from Richard Chamberlain Golf Design. I've had Richard on the podcast in the past on the Design Brief segment. So if you want to know a little bit more about Richard, you can go back and listen to that as well. Richard's a fantastic bloke, and he's involved here at McLeod Country Golf Club. Now, this is the beginning of an extensive reworking of the golf course due to a retirement village development that is taking up land on the existing golf course site after a deal done with the club. Tiff Tuff Cooch is being used on the tees, and the new spare hole will have Tiff Eagle on the green. This will no doubt carry through all of the new works moving forward around the golf course. So fantastic stuff to see there at McLeod Country Golf Club in Brizzy. We go back up to the Sunshine Coast to Noosa Springs Golf Club at the northern end of the Sunshine Coast itself, and they've recently built and sprigged a nursery green and are soon to upgrade a number of tees on the course. The Sunshine Coast is very well known for good golf, and the Graham Papworth designed Noosa Springs course is very much looking to stay in top shape, with some of these improvements allowing them to do so. So fantastic stuff to see at Noosa Springs, getting ready to start some more improvement works, beginning with this particular nursery green. Now we go to the Gold Coast in Queensland, ladies and gentlemen, to Sanctuary Cove Golf Club, and they have a heap more work happening on the golf course with their 3rd and 10th holes of the Palms course. Now, of course, Sanctuary Cove is a 36-hole property with both the Arnold Palmer designed Pines course and now the Crafter Mogford redesigned Palms course. Now, this is on the Palms course, and it's getting a whole heap more remodelling work done. Now, I got this info, and I've got a shout out to Superintendent Cam Smith, and he's given me a little bit of information about it. So there's going to be more coming about what this work is, but the design work, as I mentioned, has been done by Crafter Mogford, and there's a whole heap of stuff going on up there at the Palms. There's been a heap of work done, and there's more work to happen, and Cam Smith, the superintendent up there, is getting on with the job, leading the team. And the assistant superintendent, Andrew Lothian, I know, who's up there. I actually went to TAFE with Andrew back in the day. We were both young apprentice greenkeepers here going to Richmond TAFE here in Sydney. So Andrew's doing very, very well for himself up there, working as Cam's assistant, but Superintendent Cam Smith and the entire team of that property, because it's a wonderful facility. It really is. They are kicking backsides up there, and there's going to be a lot more to come out of this. So I'll keep you updated with Sanctuary Cove, and there's a few other things that I'm working on up there. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's a great deal of news happening in Queensland, and good to see and hear about what's going on up there in the Sunshine State. Now we go briefly into New South Wales, ladies and gentlemen, because I know I've been doing a little bit of New South Wales, so trying to give it a little bit of a rest. But there is some news coming out of Bexley Golf Club, and that's located in the south of Sydney, just slightly to the west of Sydney Airport. Now, they've been doing some bunker work on their 2nd and 6th holes recently. It has included some new shaping of the bunkers themselves, with the installation of a new bunker lining product and, of course, new sand. Now, it's great to see when golf courses, doesn't matter which spectrum of the scale, big, fully private or public local courses, it's great to see in a modern world that they are heeding the design work and the construction methods that are best practices, and they're going through and putting in some of these bunker lining products and new sands and new drainage and doing it properly, because nothing worse than going through and doing a half-baked exercise to try and save money when you're better off, you're probably reconciling your bunkers and maybe not even having them. So if you're going to do them properly, do them well, and Bexley Golf Club have been doing so just the same. We go to Victoria, ladies and gentlemen, and East Geelong Golf Club gets another mention here from me with some more bunker work that they've been doing, this time on their 4th hole. They've slightly adjusted the bunker shape to control sand blowing out of the bunker in strong winds. And it's good to see this from the team on course at East Geelong, which is located down by Corio Bay. So I like to mention not just the big private golf courses and the very well-known ones, as you know, ladies and gentlemen, but it's also talking about even a place like East Geelong here, a 9-hole golf course, a small municipal golf course from time to time, different levels and different sizes and different shapes in different parts of the country. And I like to showcase that and talk about them. So fantastic and great to see that East Geelong is still continuing to tick off some things and improve their golf course along the way. And that's what it's all about. That's what this is all about, letting you know where to go and have a look at, go and play something different, go and experience something else, but also who's working hard to improve their golf course. Now we go to Queenscliff Golf Club, and I got a shout out to Superintendent Jake Sizer, who I met at the ASTMA conference as well a couple of weeks ago now. And Jake and I had a good yarn, and it was great to catch up because I'm a big fan of Queenscliff and been looking into it a little bit more and having a chat with Jake. And I got a shout out also to President Brad Teal, who I had a good yarn with on the phone, learning a lot of the inside stuff about what's happening at Queenscliff and how they function and how they've turned the club around. So I'm hoping to get some more info for you, ladies and gentlemen, out there listening. But Queenscliff is a very unique golf course in Australia and indeed in Victoria. So more coming. But look, as I mentioned, I wanted to keep you updated with what's happening. And Jake Sizer, it was great to meet up with him and have a good yarn about the course. Now on their third hole, they're doing some improvements to their bunker, reshaping of the walk-in tongue, along with some native plantings around the far side of the bunker for some aesthetic improvements, and they've boosted the look and feel of this particular bunker, and it's great work. Some of the photos I've seen from Jake have been fantastic, and I will share those on social media. All the work has been done in-house on the golf course, which is another tick, a big tick for a club like Queenscliff. That's how a lot of these smaller clubs work. And I say smaller clubs not in terms of size of the golf course, but in terms of the management, the committee size, the board level, and the people working on course. They use volunteer work, as Jake was telling me, is a massive help to them on course. They've got a small team of greenkeepers. So they're getting better, they're improving. The course has turned themselves around financially in recent years, and they have got a bright future ahead. And it's a beautiful landscape in a very, very unique part of this country. And not to mention the gate entry in, by the way. Probably the most unique gate entry in Australia, potentially. Just throwing it out there. I got to say, it was a real pleasure to meet such a passionate and energetic young superintendent in Jake there when we caught up at the conference. So a big shout out once again, and also acknowledgement to the work being done at Queenscliff. Great to see and hear about. We go to Kew Golf Club, and not so long ago they had opened their newly rebuilt green on their par 5 16th hole. And of course, Kew Golf Club is located on the banks of the Yarra River to the east of Melbourne City itself, not too far away from the city centre. And this work in reopening their 16th hole, and it goes along with the extension of their tee itself. They were doing some work extending the 16th tee. These are improvements and changes that are happening to the golf course around the place. So, great deal of stuff happening there at Kew Golf, and the 16th hole has been reworked from one end to the other, essentially. Both ends. I don't believe there's been done anything in between, but the tee and the green site are now open, up and running. Good stuff. Now we go outside Melbourne to 45 minutes to the northwest of Melbourne to Gisborne Golf Club. And they've begun construction of their new clubhouse after it burnt down early last year. A huge milestone for the club and a very welcome one, no doubt, for the membership. Great to see, and unfortunately, sadly, these things have happened at a number of clubs in the past few years in Australia. And not good when they happen, and a very, very big deal for each club that they do happen. So it's a big milestone that they're rebuilding their clubhouse at Gisborne, and a fantastic step to see moving forward for them. Now, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time, I am going to give you, we're going across the ditch, as they call it, across the Tasman to New Zealand, where I'm going to give you a little bit of updated news that I've found and heard about of what's happening over there in NZ. And we are going to the fantastic Muriwai Golf Links, which is located about 40 minutes drive to the west of Auckland, and that's at the northern end of the North Island of New Zealand. I haven't been to the North Island, I've only done the South Island, so I'm learning a lot about this as well as we go along. And this is on the back of meeting up with Superintendent Harry Middleton, at the conference a couple of weeks ago here in Sydney. As I mentioned, he's a fantastic young bloke, and it was great to meet up with him. And they've been busy on course doing some restoration work to the green complex of their short par 4 10th hole. Now, what is planned is to remove the 2 small bunkers at the front and the front left of the green complex, and they are adding in a couple of bunkers to the existing one at the front right of the green complex. Now, a unique part, so there's some work that's happening on their 10th hole, and it's a great looking hole too, I've got to say. It's a great landscape over there. But one of the unique things of Muriwai is its black sand that it's built on. This is a very unique feature of the golf course. And it's something that in time, if I ever get the opportunity to go there into New Zealand, I really want to get to Muriwai and have a look at this landscape because it looks unreal. You can see the sand on Google Earth on the beach, but you look in the bunkers and it's a very, very dark sand. It's almost black. I call it black sand because it's pretty close to black. It's unreal. It's so striking and so different. The landscape looks incredible. So there's a bit of an update of some of the things that are happening there at Muriwai Golf Links in New Zealand. Now, I also have to mention that I met up with Superintendent Tom Aldridge of Paraparaumu Golf Club, and Tom has taken over from the reins of the past great and long-term superintendent there being Leo Barber, the one and only Leo Barber. And Tom has taken over, so he's got big shoes to fill, but Tom's a big fella too. I think he's bigger than I am, he's taller than I am, and he will no doubt fill those shoes well. So all the best for Tom moving forward, and really exciting to follow his journey there at Paraparaumu and the journey of the golf course as they continue to improve. Now, I know they're doing some work at the moment. They're doing some irrigation work on the golf course and upgrading some of those parts of the unseen infrastructure around the golf course. That is something that's, it's part of every golf course. We need to try and have it better. And if you heard my conversation recently on the Keeper of the Green segment with Superintendent James Newell, who's the super at Magenta Shores here just to the north of Sydney, he came from working at Paraparaumu Beach there underneath Leo Barber. And James was able to give us a bit of an insight on how things work. So, look, great connections into New Zealand, and it's great to see. It's great to meet Tom, and great to hear about and see just what's going on there at Paraparaumu Beach. So, I wanted to give you an update of some of those little bits of info that I've heard from in New Zealand, which is what I'm doing now. This is what we're doing. We're adding in New Zealand to some of the things that we're talking about as we showcase in different parts and different conversations all over the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Now, there's more to come from New Zealand as I find out some more information and hear about different things to spread the word of what's happening across the Tasman on so many of their wonderful golf courses that they have on offer. Now, if you're a superintendent, a greenkeeper, or even a club member and a board member, and you want to spread the word of what you're up to, get in touch with me, as you know, and let me know so I can share it with this awesome audience who listens to the podcast, because everyone is interested in what's happening and how golf courses are improving across Australia. But now I want to talk about and add in the golf courses across New Zealand. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's and that has come from on the back of, look, I'm not going to lie, for the podcast to get in hit number 4 on the Apple podcast charts of all the golf podcasts that I listen to in New Zealand, the fact that the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast, and I say thank you to everyone in New Zealand listening, the fact that it went into number 4 is staggering. It's higher than it's ever gone in Australia, which is number 5. That really hit home for me. I've spoken to a few different people in New Zealand that send me messages and get in touch with me from time to time about the fact that they listen to the podcast, which is incredible. I'm working on a couple of different golf courses over there in NZ. But I got that was on the back of I know it was on the back of also 2 conversations that I'd had recently on Keeper of the Greens, which was James Newell and also Mark Spraggs, the superintendent of the Tuncurry course of the Foster Tuncurry Golf Club in the north of New South Wales. So, two great guys recently that are born and bred Kiwis before coming to Australia. In the past, I've interviewed other New Zealanders such as Glenn Gibson-Smith, and I remember Brad Sim had a spot from Cape Kidnappers on one of the segments I did also previously as well. So it's fantastic that people in New Zealand are listening, and I want to be able to showcase just what you're up to and just what you're doing, and maybe have some conversations in other segments of the podcast as well, ladies and gentlemen. I've already got a few planned, so they're coming. So stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe if you're in New Zealand, because there's more to come. Now we go to some architecture appointments, and really there's only one update here that I've got for you at the moment on shorthand, and that is Clayton de Vries Pont, CDP, and Cruise Golf have been announced as consulting architects of Portsea Golf Club down on the Mornington Peninsula. They're also consulting to the nearby Sorrento Golf Club, among a number of other golf courses, including, as you know, Yearing Meadows, Woodlands, Royal Perth, and Eleanor here in Sydney, just to name a few. So I just thought I'd give you an update of what they're up to now, being consulting architects there at Portsea in Victoria as well, ladies and gentlemen. And that brings us to the end of this episode of Walking the Fairways. A great deal of information there, as you've heard, of what's going on, and I've got some more things to come out for you next time. Now, a big thank you, ladies and gentlemen, to Superintendent Lance Knox of Busselton Golf Club. It was great to have Lance on for a bit of an update as to just what they're up to over there in Busselton in WA, and as you've heard, a great deal of work. So thank you to Lance for jumping on the pod. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. That goes a long way around to helping everyone out there try and get across the podcast to listen more, and certainly also trying to get some more new first-time listeners of the pod. Any star reviews, ratings, and a written review goes a long way to helping that as well. And that's a big help to myself and all the work that everyone out there is doing, listening, and also providing the amount of insight that we get from people and the guests on the podcast. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, in advance for your help there with the pod. Don't forget to reach out to me on socials. Or you can send me a message on socials through Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn if you want to, or you can send me an email directly to thegolfinggreenkeeper@gmail.com. If you or your club want to share what you're up to and how you're improving your golf course, no matter where you are in Australia and, of course, now in New Zealand. Small club or big, it doesn't matter. I'm here to share how you're improving and what you're doing to make your course better for all the golfers out there that enjoy playing golf. Now, thanks again to fantastic partners of the podcast, Dint Golf Solutions, and of course their footy tipping comp, both AFL and NRL. Make sure you check out their website for all their products available at dint.com.au, and make sure you follow them on social media, and you can find them on Facebook at Dint Golf Solutions and Instagram at dint.golf.solutions. They're fantastic people. They're at the ASTMA Turf Conference this year at the trade show, with showcasing all their wonderful products in the turf maintenance side and also in their hardware of their golf course offerings as well, which I know that you know about. But if you want to see more about, they've also got tines for renovation period. All these things I know as you get ready for turf maintenance, getting ready for springtime, make sure you get in touch with Adam or Jono at Dint Golf Solutions, ladies and gentlemen, because they are fantastic partners of the podcast and they're fantastic people in general. And they've got some great offerings there that can help you look after your golf course better and also help you present your golf course better. Ladies and gentlemen, I will leave you with it once again this week, and keep an ear out because I will have my words to say very soon in a couple of days' time. You hit 'em clean, we'll keep 'em green, and I'll catch up with you very soon.